Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Stigley and I'll be the moderator for today's session. So before I proceed, just a brief background about myself. I'm the talent engagement lead of Kabel, a Tinder for jobs. We want to connect job seekers directly to line managers, aligning shared vision, goals, and expectations. We believe that working with like-minded people, having similar values is an important first step to achieving more fulfillment at work, leading to better employee retention and contributing to better performance as an individual and as an organization overall. So when you are recruiting, you are adding a new person, a new personality into an existing team, and that will effectively change the whole team's dynamic, right? And ideally in a better and more positive way, hopefully. However, that may not always be the case, as poorly coordinated and executed hiring can lead to significant undesirable outcomes, not just for the immediate team, but also for the entire organization. And with this in mind, right, our panel of speakers today will be discussing how collaborative recruitment can benefit the organization and why hiring managers or line managers should take a more active role alongside the recruiter, the HR, or talent acquisition in this process. We are privileged today to have two representatives from one of the Kabel's 111 movement participating companies, Photobook Worldwide, to share their experiences in this context. So without wasting any more time, it's my great pleasure to introduce our speakers this morning. So we have with us the first speaker, Edmund Leow, who is the talent and culture specialist, right? He has 3 years of extensive experience as a talent acquisition, focusing mainly on technical and non-technical hirings across the region, right? He started his career journey with Agoda and then moved on to AirAsia before coming to Photobook Worldwide. It has been a challenging yet fun and exciting journey for him as he gets to grow and learn throughout the journey with different cultures, environment, and exposure. Welcome, Edmund. Thank you for being here. And moving on to our second speaker, right? James Ooi, who is currently the head of sales of Photobook Worldwide, taking care of the B2B/corporate portfolio. Experience in customization gift solution, branded content with a distinguished history of working in media and video production. He is skilled in tailor-made storytelling, sales operations, account management, branding, marketing, and digital offline marketing. And having worked with renowned media companies such as Astro, LITV, and also Star Media Group. So a strong media and communication professional, James has a Bachelor of Arts in Graphic Design from the University of West of England. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us this morning. Please say hi to our audience.
Hi, everyone. Hello, morning. Hope today we can share some insight and we learn it together, right?
Yep.
Simon?
Hi everyone. Good morning and welcome. So this will be a pretty, like an hour session. So let's just, learn more as we go. Cool.
I'm really curious to know this. Before we jump into the first question, could you explain, Edmund, a little bit more about your role, right? What do you do as the talent and culture specialist for Photobook Worldwide?
Yeah, so basically for my role specifically as a talent and acquisition specialist in Photobook is that mostly I'll be working on the recruitment end. Of course, it's mostly on the end-to-end recruitment ranging from non-technical and technical hirings, okay? That spans across regional role as well, like, outside of Malaysia, like, in Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Canada, Australia, etc. All right. And of course, aside from that, I do involve in employer branding as well, where, initiatives on how to brand our Photobook so that, a lot of people will know what our existence and what are the products or the services that we actually provide. All right. So most of my role are actually, I would say around 80% is on recruitment, 20% is on employer branding. Yep.
Great. So thank you for sharing that. It's very interesting to see such role, not very common to see that. That's why I asked you to explain more. So what is collaborative recruitment to you? Going back to our topic this morning.
Yeah, so collaborative recruitment is, of course, we are involving hiring managers, or we call it line managers, in an recruitment process, because with my we do have a lot of instances where hiring process only involve hiring managers at the second round or even at the third round of the interview, before we even screen the candidates. Okay, so so with this, having said that, with the hiring manager involved in the first round of interview, so that will literally shorten the hiring process, and we'll be able to identify the best talent or the quality talent easier and faster.
Great, great. We have someone raising her hand here, Kamala. Perhaps you can, if you have any question, we can leave it to the second half of the session, or you can type it out in our chat box first, and we will get back to you in terms of your addressing your question, right, Kamala? Okay, what about you, James? As a sales manager or head of sales, I'm sure you must be quite involved in the recruitment of your sales team, right? Be it for sales manager or even the sales reps. Could you elaborate more about your role in the hiring process for your team?
Right. Usually, I think quite standard to the rest of the company. When the department we want to hire someone, we will provide a JD, right? A standard JD. We know that this JD is going to post in either LinkedIn or JobStreet or Kabel, all the open space whereby we can get the candidate, right? So, however, a lot of things that we will not address it in the JD, right? Such as maybe you are facing a restructures later when you hire this person. They might be a replacement candidate, but you might want to plan a new role or new job for this candidate, right? So this some of the thing that is not solid yet, or is actually your own business new direction. You will not share it out first in JD, because you will just list out the thing that you think that it fit to get this candidate for an interview first, right? Mm-hmm. Because mainly the JD is actually to capture the right skill or working experience candidate to actually come and apply, right? And throughout the interview, you can know more, right? So we'll prepare the JD and then pass it over to Edmund. Edmund will then help me to go and source. Of course, he will always come back to me, and then we will have a conversations. This is very important, whereby he will ask me a lot of things that usually not addressed in the JD, right? Things like, say, what are the attitude that you're looking for, which is, you won't list out like the attitude I'm looking for is a positive, is a high morale. You won't say that, right? This is not something that you need to be address it in the JD. Then Edmund will also going to check, and I also going to share some insight that, because sometimes we might find it, some people, they might fit the skill, they might fit the working experience that you're looking for, but they might not fit the corporate cultures, right? Example, a lot of candidates, they might been working for a long time for a same job. So if your current opening is very fluid, you might need this person to do some different tasks, right? Or some different exercise. Might not be a specific portfolio. Let's say like a support role, right? I have a role called sales support, whereby he's actually not doing sales, but he's supporting sales, coordinations, right? All this kind of thing. So I also need to be considered that what are the career path for this person, because you do not want him to or her to join you after 3 years, right? He go out to another place, right? And then he will say that, what is your biggest contribution? My biggest goal will be supporting, like this person do not have any portfolio. I want to build the portfolio for them. So I will share with Edmund, so that Edmund will know that, this person, I want to find someone who like tentatively will be supporting, but then he will have a lot of portfolio for herself, or himself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think having the conversation is really important, to align the expectations and also the requirements. Like you said, not everything can be captured on the job description, right? There are certain things that is probably, that is out of the JD, but equally important, if not more important, right? So
also to add up, my past experience, not in Affordable. Yes, Affordable is I don't think Affordable is a 300 employee size, right?
Okay.
The past company that I joined, when they are over like 2,000 people, right? Sometimes line manager might not very close with hiring managers, because hiring manager need to serve so many departments. It is important that hiring manager, because I know that today guests a lot of will be from HR side, so I would like to give more insight about HR. It is important that HR actually to reach out these people, because if you work in a very huge big company, right, you might not able to actually know the hiring manager yourself. So very very always meet very official, sometimes say hi and goodbye, and then when there is hiring, you only meet the managers, hiring manager, HR only. So it's important that you reach out to this hiring person, department, right? Then you have a chat with him to know more, because when you serve too many departments, you just do not know. You might just take it the JD that this is the JD that you want, and just look for you, right? Yeah.
Thanks, James. So, Edmund, what do you see are the key benefits of working on a collaborative recruitment approach?
Yeah, so of course, there are a few numbers of benefits. So if we are looking at collaborative approaches, one that it will actually eliminate on biasness, because sometimes we will tend to be biased. If they are one of our referrals, or they are one of the referral from the top management. So we would want to cancel off this biasness and to stay professional. Hence, with hiring managers or line managers having conversation or join our conversation will actually eliminate the biasness. All right, so that is one. Second of all is that it will always be very, very efficient in terms of getting the good talents, because we have a good scenario where if a HR and a HR manager sit on the same conversation with the candidate, then the HR and then the line managers will be able to gauge what are the candidates that they're looking for. So for instance, if these are the candidates in terms of skill sets that they're looking for, but in the TA side, we can gauge in terms of whether this candidate is cultural fit, environmental fit, attitude wise, so that we can actually we can actually evaluate both of the values at the same time, rather than I would say that rather than we are going stage by stage, where I might think that this candidate is good, but my hiring manager might think that this candidate is not what he is looking at, or vice versa. Okay, so and then third is that this will literally shorten the whole recruitment process, because like for instance, we used to have from my past experiences, we used to have 4 to 5 or even 6 rounds of interviews for a single candidate, where it will literally drain off their motivations or drain off their interest in joining a single company. All right, so with a shorter hiring process, I do believe that we will still be able to get good candidates and quality candidates by doing collaborative recruitment. Yep.
Great. So I think, as Edmund, you said, seems to have a lot of benefits, right, by working collaboratively as a team when you do hiring. And I think it also, when you work well, right, let's say photo book, internally, collaborative recruitment is something that you are practicing very, very well. It also gives a good impression, right, to the candidates. When they come for interview, they can see that there's good alignment among the different departments who's interviewing them, and everyone seems to be, having the same common lingo, if you like, right? Yep. And the way you relate the position to them is also consistent. So I think that is also one benefit of collaborative recruitment, where it gives a positive, I suppose, impression, right, to the candidate, so that it improves the overall candidate journey, right? I hope, I suppose, if you agree with that, right?
Yes.
And so what we agree that, it's important to include the hiring manager to be, a part of the recruitment process. How do you see this, James? I mean, you're the line manager, in fact, second line manager. So how do you see, this involvement? Do you encourage your team to be, actively involved, and they have no qualms to be involved? Because I understand that some line managers are not really proactively involved in the hiring. They leave it a lot to the HR or the recruiters of talent acquisition, and they just do the final bit, let's say, right? So they are not so, I suppose, at the forefront, right? So what are your views on this, James?
Yeah, it is true. A lot of line manager, they probably have too much work on their plate as well. Once anyone resign, they just busying either to find the replacement candidate, right? Unless you're saying that suddenly there's an expansion on department, right? Then line manager need to craft out the new JD for this role, right? Because especially now is the pandemic era, whereby if company going for expansion mode, right, definitely this person bring up a lot of value and contribution, right? So probably he will more involved. So for those that is busy line managers, right, they have to fork out time, because I saw many line managers previously, they just pass everything to HR and then think that HR will do a good job, they will sort out my problem, and only the final stage when HR actually shortlist the candidate and then pass it to a line manager saying, this is your candidate, let's meet this person. But the time is already too late, because you already shortlisted, right? You cannot rewind and go back, right? And then maybe the time you only found out something that you miss out to tell HR, right? And then you found out that this candidate, you already deep in your heart, know that even 3 months throughout the probation will not go through. Then you actually wasted this candidate 3 months and wasted your time 3 months. Actually, all line managers, and then I think also all your, our HR friends here, that we all wish that the candidate that we hire, we can pass the probation, right? It's the right person. This is my feedback. It's very important, especially when you want to hire a person that is not about him or her herself. It's about whether this person can fit the entire team chemistry, whereby HR will not know, because they are not the line manager, they're not working with the team, right? Probably this person is so good, HR filter, he is so good, right? Or she is so good. But because HR will not know the rest of the team chemistry, whether can work with this guy or not. Yeah, this is very important.
Yeah, I think, James, I totally agree with you on that point, because not a top talent from one company may not be a top talent, let's say in Photobook worldwide, if they join. So I think in different circumstances, in different environment, in different teams, right, performance could vary to a certain extent. And that's what we want to iron out from the very beginning. And, getting managers involved, like you say, is important, because I would think that line managers are the one that's going to hire, inherit the new hire into their team. They are supposed to be responsible for the, success of this person coming into the team. So I think it's in every interest of his or her, the line manager, to basically be involved and ensuring that a good decision, or ensuring that the right expectation or the requirements is laid out consistently and as a common understanding among all the different departments, right? So I think that's a key thing. Edmund, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just to add on, with this, having said that, with involvement of hiring manager, I do believe that, it will actually save more of their department cost. It will save more of their time, rather than, going back and forth from the, HR or from the line managers or hiring managers saying that, yes, this candidate is good, but then at the end of the day, they still want to look for more candidates, because to them, they feel that, this candidate is not the one that they're looking at. So, it will actually save a lot of cost, and then it will save a lot of time, because, when it comes to, urgent hirings, or when it comes to hiring, I do understand that, sometimes your hiring manager would want to get these people in ASAP, but still we have to understand that, candidates have to serve notice at their current workplace, be it 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. So if we literally lengthen the whole process, it will be so basically we are the one that will be affected, because we are the one has been dragging the whole processes. And then once you have actually identified the candidate, the candidate then only tender, and then only they serve like their 2 or 3 months notices. So at the end of the day, we are the one that is prolong the whole hiring process, and it will be really tiring, going back and forth for the both hiring managers and HR.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, I totally agree, because in this case, getting it right at the start, at the beginning, is really important, so that you don't waste candidates' time, you don't waste each other's time, and also waste unnecessary resources, right, in terms of going through the whole hiring process. And the process is not, and I suppose, not an easy, and sometimes also not something that everyone enjoy, right? So we try to be as efficient as possible in terms of hiring. Yeah, good insight. Save a lot of time. Yes, correct. Save a lot of time, Adam. And what are some of the I know, so now we kind of agree that yes, collaborative recruitment is good, beneficial. Line manager getting involved as early as possible is also crucial. Getting that alignment is crucial. So what are some of the challenges in getting more involvement from the line manager? Do you face any challenge, Edmund?
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to collaborative hirings, they should have benefits and the disadvantages of it. So one of the challenges might be like sometimes different points of views like within maybe the panelists like for instance, let me give you for an example where if you are hiring a software engineers, it will involve the TA, the tech panels, the panelists, and then at the end of the day will be with hiring managers, So sometimes, we might have difference in opinions, all right? And then of course, at the end of the day, we will still have to, go back to the ground zero on evaluating this candidate, saying that, like, look, what are the skill sets that we are looking at? What are the environmental or cultural fit that we are looking at, So at this point in time, sometimes, the HR might need to spend a little bit more time in, explaining to the tech panels on what is his view on this candidate, or perhaps the TA or the HR would want to convince the hiring manager, saying that look, with all the feedbacks being being upfront, we how are we going to move forward with this candidate, because at the end of the day, HR is the one that is front phrasing the candidates, to ensure that the candidate journey, the candidate satisfaction is at the top notch, because we are the one that is reflecting the whole company. All right. So at this point in time, I would say that because sometimes different people have different opinions, so HR might need to do his own due diligence, and it will take a little bit more of time in managing the stakeholders, or perhaps advising them, saying that if these are the best fit, why not we just move ahead with it, or if you want to look at more candidates, like what are the good candidates or good talents that you are actually looking for.
Right.
Yep.
Thanks, Edmund. So going to the business side, back to James, given that I suppose the turnover rate is usually very high in the sales team, right? Compared to other functions, I suppose you will be most familiar with this. And what are the key challenges faced by you and your team when it comes to hiring?
I would say the answer is quite cliche, right? The answer, I think, forever will draw back to find the right candidate, right? Define to find the right candidate. By getting the right JD, and then you get the right resume. You think that this guy, really good, right? The resume is really make your eye blink, something that. But after sometimes you meet up with the person after the interview, you might find it. Yeah, everything is all right, but it's something that is just not it, something is just not right. But you cannot tell, right? Until you see more candidates, and then you can tell, right? Sometimes like this. I want to revisit back the value that we always looking for a candidate, which is beside a good resume, you also need to find the good attitude. I think attitude is very hard to written out in the resume, right? It's very hard to reflect. You can find a very good copywriter, then your resume might look really good, but the attitude is very hard to you need to really see one-on-one, right? If I'm hiring people, I pass everything to HR, right? HR will do the hiring, but HR cannot tell that what kind of again the chemistry that I mentioned, cannot screen what kind of chemistry, what kind of personalities this person will react. I myself, because I'm in that business, I will know that what kind of challenge this candidate in future when he or she is enrolling our company that he will face. Right? Example, he might face some of the very fuzzy customer. Some people, they are very talented, but they are short of patience. Right? So you need to actually have more conversation on this only on one-on-one, then you can know. But sometimes during a short interview, it's also very difficult for you to know, right? Then of course, like Edmund say that probably that is where probation came in, right? But like I say, probation is too late already, right? You do not want to go through that probation. It's the best that throughout the screening that you can actually find, just like your a bit advertising time, like Kabel apps, actually you can do like a screen, a filter for you, right? Rather than you need to screen like 2,000 applicants already screened for you already, then from there, you can drill down, and then you also can have conversation with them, right? This is actually cut a lot of short time, save you a lot of short time. Unless that I work in a company where I do not have HR. The manager actually need to go and find a candidate themselves. I've been there before. I work in an international company, but they do not have a HR in Malaysia. So I have to become the HR. And I have to say that not many managers that will know what you guys learn. You guys are HR, right? You will know the right questions to ask. So for us, for me, I always do what I can is actually do a two-way interactions. Not only to let the candidate sell for himself, but also my end, right? I have to actually tell him, what are you signing in for, right? A lot of company that I don't think that they have this opportunity, because candidates when in for the interview role, they'll keep selling themselves, right? How good am I? You get me, I might be your third shortlisted candidate. Please hire me, all this kind of thing, right? But I always do one thing, which I'm telling you, what are you actually will expect, after you join Football, right? Or join any company that previously I worked for. Probably you'll face this kind of challenge. Probably you need to work on weekend. Do you mind that? We have to declare all of this honestly with the candidate so that we find the right candidate.
I think from what I hear is it's important to be forthright, right? Be honest and be open about what is expected of the job. No point trying to paint a beautiful picture or great heavenly environment, if it's not. So, and then that's the last thing you want to do, is to create that kind of a gap in the expectation, right? So the candidate, when they join you on the first day, already have a different expectation. And I always see that cases like that, they will leave the company in no time, right? Because it's already not starting on the right foot, right? So I think it's important to make sure that you lay out all the expectations clearly, right, to the candidate. Clearly, basically communicate in terms of what is expected of the job. The challenges of the job is important. It's not just about all the good things, but also the challenges. And I believe to attract candidates, also the other component is to have some form of development, thrown in, right, and use that as a sort of like a carrot, for the person to be wanting to come on board and also to learn on the job, right? So I think those are the few key things. Edmund, what are your thoughts on this?
Sorry, come again?
So what are your thoughts on what we just mentioned in terms of the challenges?
Yeah, of course, I do agree with James, because, coming from my end or even from the hiring manager end, these are the challenges that will always be faced. I mean, regardless you are in a small company, a startups or an SME or even an MNCs. So there will be challenges because finding talent is not as easy as we think, or because at the end of the day, even for HR side, we still have to go and look for candidates. We have to source for candidates, but those are very, very passive candidates because they are not the one that is actively looking out. So with this sort of candidate, we have to be extra careful in managing their expectations. We have to be extra careful in managing whether they are the one that is best fit for our culture or best fit to the role itself.
Yeah, I think it's important because the passive job seekers are the majority of the market. As we know, 80% of the market consists of the passive job seekers, and it's how to reach out to them and making sure that you have something good enough for them to wanting to move over, right, from their current job. So I think that's what we essentially is aiming to do. Thank you for sharing. So Kabel has recently launched a new mobile recruitment app that essentially puts the line manager at the forefront of hiring, enabling them to connect directly, right, with matching candidates that is filtered and sourced by the algorithm. And considering the challenge that we have just discussed, I mean, you are on board, on the Kabel 111 movement. So, and you have a chance to look at how the app works firsthand as a pilot. How do you see Kabel addressing this and ultimately encourage a more collaborative effort in recruitment? Either James or Edmund, if you want.
So I would say that it's a very good approach where involving hiring managers in the in the initial stage of getting candidates, because they would want to invest on the money, the people, and then of course they want to make sure that these people are best fit in the team. All right. So with this app itself, Kabel, I've literally play around with it myself. So I can see that it's really convenient. It's super convenient. Because you can use your mobile application and you can just find candidate anywhere and everywhere. all right? Like maybe even you are having your coffee chats, or maybe even you are, having your break time, you can just always go through this application and then just swipe through whether, these are the candidates that you're looking at or not, all right? And then on second note is that, we can always, post the requirements or what are the skills that we are looking at for this specific roles. And then of course, the candidates can, just look through on, the hiring manager's profile, or vice versa, the hiring manager can look through the candidate's profile on, whether these are the best fit. And if they think that, the profiles are pretty accurate to what they are looking for, then they can always set up an interview, or just probably a voice call with them to, move forward with that. Yeah. So it's a pretty good and convenient app, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. James, what about yourself? Have you had a chance to? I understand you have a chance to try out as well. What is your initial experience like, and what do you like about it?
Yeah, like I say, the apps actually can provide. If I'm hiring people and I'm using Kabel as an apps, I can actually communicate with I can actually PM him some message, before the official interview. This will actually have more two-way interactions. Sometimes you just send out a friendly, if you see that the profile actually fit the candidate that you're hiring, you can easily just ask him some questions, just PM him, ask him, hi, I'm James from here sales. I know that you're interested on this, can you tell me about, certain things? Then also from there, actually give you some insight that how good is this candidate, especially in sales, right? The candidate we are looking for usually will be not only can deal with the Malaysia market, but also can cater for international market. So throughout my experience, sometimes I interview some candidate that is really good for Malaysia, but then I know that my challenge is actually this candidate have to somehow fulfill the international market as well, right? And because the Western, like US, Canada, if they want to serve those market, right, the culture is different, right? Right. Some of the candidate I met really good, but for Malaysia, it's too bad. That he will work well for Malaysia, but go out overseas then cannot already. Then will be not fit. You have to let go. You have to find the right key person. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you have to consider it from all angles, not just the immediate role. Perhaps also if let's say were to go to other countries as well. Consideration for that. I think it's the overall fit and your requirement essentially for the position, right? So just now we're just showing some of the screenshot from the app itself, right? Maybe later towards the end we will probably run through another time just to have a good for the audience to have a good sense about how it looks like, and it's already and then they can perhaps download on the App Store as well as the Google Play Store. Going back to I think we are more or less, let's take some questions, right? We have a couple of questions lined up, right? Let's see, I have one question over here, just answer live. Okay, just post it. Does it, from Hazel Hu, thank you very much for the question. Does it mean that it will be more efficient to skip the initial phone screen, just dive straight to a video or face-to-face interview together with the hiring manager? Any one of you want to take the question, James?
Sure.
I think Edmund is the best. I think phone screen is important. Edmund, is your forte.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that phone screen is not important, but of course, if you just want to drive straight to a face-to-face or video interview together with hiring manager, that would be a good approach as well. Because at the end of the day, HR and hiring manager sitting in the same sitting in the same video chat room, or sitting in the same meeting rooms, it will actually filter a lot of unnecessary questions or ambiguous questions. Like for instance, if candidate would want to ask for the business wise, then the hiring manager will be able to answer on behalf. And then if the candidate is asking for the HR per se kind of side, like compensation package, what are the expectations of this role, then the HR can answer immediately, so that it wouldn't so that it will actually save a lot of time, rather than candidate are still kept hanging in between, like where they don't know what are the whole business doing on, how is the business, how is the business team going on, what are the system that the business is using, or what are the approaches that the hiring manager are actually preferring on. Yeah, so it will be great that if you want to skip the initial phone screening as well, because at the end of the day, if we were to pass the phone screening from my side, but if we were to proceed this candidate to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager might think that this candidate is not what he is looking for, or it's not what he is looking at, so it will still literally waste both parties' time as well. Yeah. So I would say it's pretty efficient as well, because it will actually save a lot of time, not only for the TA and the hiring manager, it will actually save a lot of the candidates' time as well. Yep.
And we have a question from Brian. You mentioned about going to line manager and understanding the job requirements in determining the ideal candidate. In getting infos that are not listed on the JD, wouldn't it be easier when constructing the JD to just list down all the requirements so that you don't spend too much time going back and forth to line managers? Imagine you have 30 roles and you need to go to the line managers 30 times, and each time is 30 minutes. Don't you think it is a bit unproductive? So this is what Brian sharing. Any?
Yeah, so I do understand where Brian is coming from. So I do have one time managing like 20 or 30 roles, especially in terms of technical roles. So I do believe that JD it will be great if you can list all the roles, all the points in the JD. But at the end of the day, candidate, they have this mentality where when they're applying for a job, they don't really go line by line on the JD, especially if this is a very, 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 very lengthy JD, so they wouldn't go line by line. So at the end of the day, we will be getting like someone that is from unrelevant experience applying for this role. So hence that is the reason why to ensure that we speak to the hiring manager, and then so that the HR will literally speak to the candidate to see that whether this is a good fit for that role or not. Because I do have a lot of instances where I post for a software engineering job. I do have people coming from like marketing side, coming from finance side, or coming from production side or IT side, or even I am posting for a senior role. I do have people very junior roles coming to apply for this role. So I do believe that some company might prefer a longer JD, like a more detailed one, or some company would prefer a more generic JD. So at the end of the day, it's still depending on how your company would want to position themselves as well. Because some of the JD, it might be very lengthy because they are promoting their company culture, they are promoting the job culture, they are promoting what are the things that they need to have as well. So to me, I think that the JD, what we needed in a single JD that is efficient or that is sufficient enough would be like perhaps you can just have some introduction of the company, like who we are, what we are, and then what are the job descriptions, and then what are the responsibilities that you need to have, and then the skills. So the skills wise, you can always put must have skills or good to have skills, and then of course from there onwards or maybe you can just skip on the good to have skills if the hiring manager is actually acceptable with that. And at the end of the day, the TA will screen them, and then only from there onwards we'll move forward with it. Yeah, so I wouldn't say that it will be pretty unproductive, because I do believe that sometimes 30 roles we have 5 or 6 roles is actually the same hiring manager, so we can always catch up the requirements with the same hiring manager, because at the end of the day we want to ensure that these are the best or potential candidates that is what the hiring manager is looking at.
Yeah, thanks, Edmund. I suppose, ultimately it's about balancing it, because nowadays people are having shorter and shorter attention span, right? Especially candidates, especially even the younger generation. I don't think they will spend the time going through every single line of the JD. So I think it's about trying to project what's important, the key requirements, the key descriptions. I think that's more important to have, and then focus more on the engagement process, right? The human-to-human process with the candidate, where you can get more insights that is out of the JD. James, you have any thoughts to add or views on this?
No, totally agree. But I saw Brian came another question is quite interesting. I think I can help to answer.
Okay,
could you share occasions where the hiring manager uncollaborative, right? And how do you manage the hiring manager and communicate efficiently, right? Because I'm the guy who actually work with HR, right? I think it's important that HR to communicate with the person who want to hire, to tell him, hey, this is actually benefit to you. right? It's not benefit to HR. HR is just doing on the day-to-day operations, right? But by helping me to get a better candidate for you, you also do not want to hire someone who are not fit for your role. Like I said, HR might can based on the JD to hire some candidate that fit the role, right? But ultimately, how about this candidate, whether in terms of attitude, in terms of chemistry, do they fit the whole group? Is all this is my side to actually provide all the insight to HR so that they can find the right role. Yeah.
So yeah, I think adding to what James is mentioning, also maybe to Brian, the hiring manager or the line manager needs to realize that ultimately the person coming in, the new hire, is going to be totally in his interest or in her interest, right? To be involved and to be collaborating and making sure that your requirements or your sort of like what you want in the candidate should be communicated, because you want to do it much earlier on before everything else is already pass by in terms of process. So you want to be involved in the part that matters most, and I believe it's in the beginning where you really have a good understanding, right, on this. Okay, so just going through the questions. Let's see what else. We have two questions earlier on. Let me go back to it. Yes, we have questions that were submitted when during the registration process. So one is from Crystal Lim. In fact, she's from Photobook, I think your colleague. What is the killing question you will ask during interview? Wow, killer question, huh? During interview to see if the candidate best fit the job, right? What are some interview tips for a person that look for a sales job? Yeah, maybe this one is for James. Killer question.
Right. Our HR friends here, right? I have to share one thing with you guys, right? Sometimes the head of department, when they want to hire people, they might not know what to ask, right? HR also need to guide. For me, I didn't include in my own resume. I actually did 2 months headhunter before. While I was looking for a job, then my headhunter asked me, hey, I'm helping you to hunt for a job, why not you help me to do headhunting job for 2 months? Then I say, okay, it's a new thing. Then I venture into headhunting job. So I know what are the questions to ask, right? But not many managers that when they want to hire people, especially I have colleagues like creative director, they are in creative world, right? They are not good in communication. And what I mean is face-to-face to people. They're very good with their Mac, Photoshop, all this kind of software, they're very good. So they might not know. Like, so you can easily, either you communicate, HR help the line managers, or for us, we can easily Google it just to find like what are the things that you can actually craft out in that 5 minutes to know their personalities. Like usually you will ask like, what are the 3 things that your previous company praise about you, the positive comment about you, and what are the 3 things that you think that is your biggest weakness? Then from there you see actually this guy how he react to these questions. Yeah. To me, interview difficult sometimes. Like if you do not know the candidate enough, you just throw a lot of general question. Then and if the candidate just answer you just a very short, right? You cannot dig further, right? Because you cannot use those info to ask further, right? Of course, we have to read their resume so that we have to forecast and what do you do actually in that 2X company that related to this job. You have to link the story and see and forecast whether would that previous work actually fit for current role that you want to hire. That is very important. Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, as you were saying, the whole interview process is about minimizing the risk or minimizing the variables or minimizing the unknown, right, between both parties, especially with the candidates. And I, for one, I was in sales before, I was in marketing before, but I was never trained how to interview anyone. Right? I believe that is also quite a similar situation with most of the line managers and hiring managers. They have never been trained on interviewing or interview skills, but they have to do a lot of interviews. So I suppose, yeah, this is where HR is really pivotal. The role of HR is really pivotal in supporting them. But I think hiring manager also needs to take the interest, right? Take a proactive role in this partnering with the HR so that your decision or your requirements is basically communicated through, right? Let's see. Okay, so from Hazel Hu again, or let's see, it's Hazel Hu, yeah. For some candidates, we already know that they are not suitable in the first 2 minutes we speak to them, even when the CV looked impressive, and some hiring manager will not be happy if this happens too often. What can you suggest that we can avoid this? How can we avoid this? Edmund or James, who wants to take the question?
Yeah, so I think I'll just take this.
Okay.
So I do believe that I have a lot of experience or instances where hiring manager has been complaining, saying that why this kind of candidate is applying for the role, or why do we have this pool of candidates that is actually for this role. And then by judging from the CV, my hiring manager is really impressed with them, but then when talk to them, they are not very happy with their skill sets, or they are not very happy with their communications. So I would say that this is something that we cannot avoid, because at the end of the day, resume is just that I can always put that I am fluent in this, I am fluent in that, but we still have to go through with the human touch. And then how are we going to avoid this? I would say that we have to make sure that the HR and the hiring manager knows that what we're looking at. So if with the first 2 minutes that we speak to them, we already know that this candidate is not what we're looking for, then we can just politely just tell the candidate, saying that perhaps we can even tell them that what are the roles that we're looking at, or what are the requirements that we're looking at, and then we can just politely telling them that they are not the best fit, or they are not the one that we're looking at. All right. So in terms of moving forward, how are we going to avoid this? Is that usually the TA, you have to really what I personally do is that perhaps I would just have a like 5 to 10 minutes chat with them to gauge in terms of their comm skills, like their communication skills, if this role are required. Like for instance, if you are looking for software engineers, or if you are looking for a very techy guy or graphic designers, communication is not something that they are looking for. So as long as their skills is actually at that level, then I would say that maybe if they're all at average skills, then average comm skills, then that would be great. But if it's a role that is required like a strong comm skills, like skill sales, that requires them to do sales pitching as well, then I would rather like just have a short call with them, like 5 to 10 minutes, just to gauge their level of communication and to gauge their level of interest as well. Yeah, so we can always be able to work around with this as well. And then of course with the collaborative hiring from manager side, we'll ensure that we will actually pull around with this as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Edmund. One question from Reddy Martin: how to make managers from departments that need employees? So this is basically how to make hiring managers or line managers who perhaps are not interested, right? Like just now we will talk about, feel responsible and wanting to be more involved and take on this responsibility much more. Any encouragement or any tips that you can make them be more involved in the hiring process?
I think I can contribute on this. I think some of the managers, they are not HR, right, for their life. They've been doing either, if they're engineer, they've been doing programming. If they're creative, they're doing design. They might not know actually finding candidate and interviewing candidate is a fun thing to do as well, right? Like myself, I venture into sales because I like meet people, right? It's talk to people, communicate with people. Interview is also part of communications, right? So if you can actually let these people know that meeting these people is very important for you to meet. Firstly, is going to someone who's going to work with you, right? It's going to be, if you get close enough, right, it's going to be your family as well, as a team, as a family, right, to work towards your goal. It's important to know that how important that he himself or she herself can contribute to this interview, to learn more about this candidate, to help HR to find the right candidate, right? Especially yesterday, we were having a conversation saying that with the current pandemic time, right, managers, HR also, probably some of the company also have shorter hand, right? Headcount is shorter for HR. Previously, maybe you have 5 guys to find candidate, a lot of people, right? But now only 1 person to find the rest of the new replacement or new hiring, right? It's getting difficult for HR job as well. I mean, if our HR friend today, this experience actually come to you, then you will know it's difficult. You should actually share with the manager that not only you can help us and help yourself. Most important to help yourself. I mean, ultimately, whoever candidate that we find for you is for you to actually hire and shortlist, right? I think unless those are very, I would say, ignorant managers, that they think that, okay, everything I depend on HR, HR will sort out my problem, right? And you just throw it away. And then they don't care as well, right? Then they have to know the consequences, right? This is the candidate that you get. This is the best that HR actually present to you. You have to take it. So don't complain, right? Because you don't involve at all. You just show me a JD and then you expect HR to know everything. Cannot be, right? Like I said, JD cannot tell you a lot of things, right? Maybe some people, they hire very good a copywriter, like I mentioned before, beautify their whole resume. They end up it's not the candidate that you want. Yeah.
So we have one more question from Adam. Do you throw in business case in your selection process during an interview?
Yes, I think I will just take this, Adam. So let me give you an example where, you know, if you were to, like, just to say, even hiring for a customer service, all right. So back then, what I do is that even during the initial stage, I would throw in either a scenario-based case studies or a business case studies, where, you know, we want to gauge how their thinking skills, how is their critical skills, you know, how is their problem solving skills in resolving the customer issues as well. So I think that, you know, these are pretty important skills, like, you know, especially for a CS or even for a sales role, where, you know, how are you going to pitch your clients, how are you going to pitch your or convince your clients or to convince your customers as well. So all these are pretty important before we even, you know, like move them forward. So that, you know, we know that this candidate is, you know, good in, you know, problem solving or good in critical skills, because at the end of the day, critical skills and problem solving skills is pretty crucial skills as well.
A big thank you, right? Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and experience for today's discussion. And I suppose, yeah, we agree that collaborative recruitment is an important aspect, yeah, in terms of the hiring process, to eliminate bias, to getting good talent, as well as also creating a good impression, yeah, for the candidate in terms of their candidate experience. And of course, we want to make sure that alignment is achieved from the very beginning, at the onset of the moment you agree that, you know, this position is to be hired. You want to make sure that all expectations and the requirements are already communicated, yeah, amongst the HR, amongst the line manager, as well as talent acquisition. And yeah, I think it's about, yeah, hiring or interview is an art, I believe. It's not easy trying to get someone that is 100% fit. You may not even be possible for you to get a person who is 100% fit, but then allow some room, I suppose, yeah, for the person to grow on the job, and then to quickly, I suppose, assimilate into the culture of the company, yeah, over time. You don't want to be too far off, but someone that is perhaps 7 out of 10, right, is good enough, right? And with the right attitude, I think this is what I'm hearing. That's critical as well in terms of one criteria. So for those who have missed out, right, some of these points, the video will be available on demand, right, on our YouTube channel. So you can follow us on our Kabel LinkedIn page or email us for the link. Once again, let's show our appreciation to both our speakers from Photo Book Worldwide, Edmund and also James. Thank you so much for agreeing to come here and have a chat and, you know, to understand your views, right? Especially with regards to hiring. So let's show our appreciation, yeah, to the speakers today by giving thumbs up or comment in the chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Hope to see you again in the future. Stay tuned for our next session, right? Check out our LinkedIn page for more details. And also we will put in the links for the 111 movement. It's a project that we're currently partnering with companies like Photobook to help unemployed Malaysians. So our aim is to achieve or to create 5,000 job opportunities for 5,000 job seekers by end of Merdeka Day. So if you know of anyone who is hiring, companies who want to help, please share with them. If you know of anyone who needs a job, please ask them to reach out as well. We're more than happy to help. And yeah, I think that's what it's all about. Sharing is caring. And enjoy your weekend. I think this is today's Saturday, so have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you again so much for being here. Thanks to the participants who registered and be here with us, and also your active participation in terms of asking your questions and giving your share of thoughts as well. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye.